So welcome to the quarterfinals of KCP. So congratulations on all of you for managing to reach the quarterfinal. So in opening government we have TK as activities. In opening opposition we have SP Open. In closing government we have TN50x. And in closing opposition we have SP. So on the motion, we now invite the Prime Minister to begin. Yes,
The world we live in is a world of capitalism where the oppressed lowest bracket of society will always be oppressed by those of the bourgeois and those of the higher class. We think we need to change the narratives that is currently happening within our rigid capitalist structures. We think that in order to break this narrative, we need to have automated workforces so that our country becomes much more innovative and much more productive, and our workforce gets better labor laws and gets much more safer in factories and in their workplaces, right? What will our world look like on opening government? Number one, our workforces are much more productive because our industrial productivity is much higher. Secondly, our manufacturing industries are actually innovative and can actually cope with 21st century trends. Thirdly, we create better security and better safety within factories. That means we lessen the probability of exploitation, especially among developing countries and especially amongst these kinds of factories, right? What do we actually believe in? We believe that in order for society, or in order for the country, for example, like Malaysia, to actually progress, we actually need these automated workforces so that we can actually help the country progress towards the kind of developed nation status that we actually want to achieve. No, I've just started, right? So so I'm going to divide my arguments into two premises, and I'll propose this in 4 questions, right? The first premise: how does productivity in factories actually sharply increase, right? The first problem that we want to propose to you. What are the kinds of problems that exist that actually hamper like national productivity and GDP growth, right? Number one, because corporates can't maximize their production growth. What kind of problems do we see, especially in developing countries, right? We see how a lot of developing countries employ low-skilled laborers or like all these workers who are constantly exploited, who have to work overtime every single day and cannot like fully contribute to factories, right? This is especially harmful, especially since corporations will always give them low pay, right? We say in cases, especially in developing countries, right, these kinds of corporations cannot fully utilize the strength and the potential that these kinds of workers actually can provide to the national economy. Thirdly, we say that GDP growth is also severely hampered. We say, especially in small developing nations, or also like small isolated areas in developed societies like the United States, we see that accessibility is something that doesn't exist, right? Why is it so? Because a lot of these places actually do have an abundance of resources. But the problem here is they don't have enough workforces to cope with all the increased production growth, right? We see this in places like Detroit, in places like like Zimbabwe, where they are trying to take baby steps to actually create industrialization. Right? We say in order for a country or any form of society to actually progress towards a first sector industry or a first sector nation, then we have to make these kinds of steps in order to help these people actually gain accessibility and actually help these kinds of individuals to contribute to the economy. Second question that we want to pose: what are kinds of exclusive benefits that developing nations or areas in the developed nations that are currently declining can actually get? But before that, one of them.
If mechanized labor is cheaper, more productive, and less prone to harms, what happens to the people that you displace from low-skilled jobs?
Great question. I'll cover this in the second level of my argumentation. But before that, moving on to the exclusive benefits that developing countries can actually get. Number one, we get a faster rate of industrialization. What does this mean? Because we say the problem right now is that like a lot of these small developing countries actually don't have enough workforces to actually escape the poverty trap that they are in, right? So you can see, sure, many automated machines might be much more expensive. Maybe they will have to take over the jobs of like people on the ground. But we say, why is that? It's still what we say that this is extremely okay. Why is that so? Because we say in the long run, we achieve better productivity. We say in the long run, the expensive cost of these machineries can cover up the expenses. The increased production and the increased industrial growth can actually cover up these kinds of expenses that you need to buy these machineries. In the long run, we say that productivity actually sharply increases. We say the growth of production actually can be much more maximized within a limited period of time, especially since we're talking about developing countries. Secondly, we provide innovation for like a lot of sunset industries. Because notice the problem here is that a lot of sunset industries, the reason why they're declining is because they refuse to actually conform or to like change to 21st century standards or to 21st century trends. This means that with an increased use of like high-tech machinery and like extremely advanced technology, like a lot of these sunset industries still want to stick to like traditional like employment methods or like traditional methods of trying to produce things, right? We say that this is extremely harmful because this severely hampers the growth of production growth, right? Second premise that we're going to bring up, the exploitation of low-skilled workers and poor individuals, right? Propose this in two questions. The first one, why poor people are always going to be more exploited and are going to suffer much more on your side. Number one, we bring to you terrible labor laws because we say MNCs out there are one of the most profit-oriented, money-minded bastards out there who will always want to capitalize on the fact that poor people are poor, they live in extremely poor conditions, and they never have the kind of political power or any form of voice to lash out against MNCs or lash out against the governments. Especially since they are workers, they have liability to their companies. That means in order for them to actually get their wages, in order for them to actually help themselves to put food on the table, they have to do every single thing that their MNCs tell them to do. This also includes like capitalist MNC propaganda, where like so many corporations tell their workers that in order to be the best worker for that month, you need to work overtime. You need to work every single day so that you can contribute to our company, right? The last question that I want to pose, the exclusive benefits and why is it that it's still much better on a comparative scale, right? Because we say, sure, a lot of people will be displaced, a lot of people will be displaced in the process of automation. But we say the problem right now is that governments don't actually have an incentive to actually want to help poor individuals self-actualize. This means that poor governments, especially in developing countries, know that their poor people will always get jobs. So there is no incentive for them to push them into tertiary education, to push them to actually self-actualize about the types of labor rights they have. I think that if we want to develop, I think that if humanity actually wants to progress, to actually help ourselves out of these kinds of extremely rigid capitalist structures, then I think automation is the best way to go.
Baik, sudah opsi to begin our session.
Ladies and gentlemen, the world that we live in is simply not compatible with the state of our society. I'm sorry, it's not compatible with the policy that government is proposing. When we look at the state of society, as much as we can agree that you have increased productivity under your side, I think the sheer number of individuals that will be displaced, that will be further disenfranchised and further disadvantaged, is a sacrifice that is not worthy of making. What will I do in my speech? I will prove to you why mechanization displaces the vulnerable, and in doing so, you will stifle the innovation much more under the other side of the house, and how you further disadvantage individuals that you wanted to protect in the first place. But before that, a few things that opening government tried to say. They told us that the problem with our society, the world right now, is that workers are exploited to the furthest extent due to there not being an automated industry. I think your comparative is unemployment, which is people not having money in general, people not having capital to have purchasing power to buy their basic necessities. What's more important is unemployment can't be regulated under your side. What we can do is we can enforce regulation in companies, we can enforce labor laws, we can even pump in education for individuals within the sphere that you're talking about. Unemployment is not an option to help people in general. And we think that exploitation can be regulated as much as possible, but unemployment can't be. Secondly, they told us that there's increased productivity as a main benefit on the other side. We agree, robots can produce much better because it's mechanized, because they're more productive, more efficient, and such, right? But what you need to prove under this argument was for this argument to be extremely okay, or this principle to be extremely okay, was to tell us why this increased productivity is a worthy trade-off to push away the millions of individuals that you will displace under your side. You can't just simply tell us that the robots are more productive, which is a touristic argument. You need to prove why this increased productivity is a worthy trade-off in comparison to the millions of individuals that you will displace. I'll talk about the harms that how you necessarily harm these individuals. Before I move on,
yeah, we've had an increased industrial growth. Doesn't it mean that poor people on the ground, like across the country, can actually benefit?
Yeah, there was no proper description to why that happened under their side. I will tell you why it worsens under our side when you have a certain number of higher class individuals controlling that form of help that you're trying to provide. So, why does mechanization displace the vulnerable, and how is it harmful in doing so? We think that mechanization in the current world is a bottom-up approach. This This means that mechanization will take up jobs of lower skills, factory jobs, jobs that demand manual labor and lower skill jobs. Then only it will make its way up to higher skill jobs somewhere near in the future, right? What is the harm of this principle? We won't deny that productivity will increase under their side. It's much greater because robots are much more efficient, and that's the truth. We also won't deny that goods and services will necessarily become cheaper because the cost of operating these robots are cheaper in comparison to operating a large workforce. But what you do is that you reduce the purchasing power of society, especially the individuals that work within this lower end of the job scale. And we emphasize particularly on the vulnerable individuals that you were trying to protect in the first place. So what happens in government side is that poor people have no capital whatsoever. They are displaced because mechanized labor takes over their jobs. This means they have no access to basic necessities because for the very fact that they don't have capital whatsoever. So even if you are able to reduce the price of goods and services as a result of cheaper cost of maintaining a mechanized labor, the very fact that people don't have money, will just put away the whole idea of mechanized labor being more productive in general. If people can't buy your products, I don't understand why you want to make it cheaper. So I think capital is very important. More importantly, this disappearance of capital, this allows poor people and individuals within that bracket to progress and go up that social ladder that they're so direly trying to get out of in the first place. Under their policy, poor people are completely reliant on state welfare and what the state can do for them. I think that's very much a restricted form of service that the state can provide in comparison to a family institution gaining capital, having to distribute its own their own capital amongst family members and providing to their own family members. So what happens under their policy is that because there is state welfare, the state welfare is more likely to be controlled by the rich, because the rich individuals the individuals within the higher bracket, because they have lobby power to control the standard in which states determine whether welfare is important, whether you need to amp up welfare, whether the individual who's are getting enough money. So poor people under your policy can't do anything to control welfare, to demand from the government whether they need more welfare or not. Additional harms include what necessarily happens is if the rich deem that the standard needs to be low, that health requirements are low, people aren't getting sick, they just lobby with the capital that they necessarily have. The capital they necessarily have, and poor people are disadvantaged by the state welfare that you provide. So state welfare won't work on your side, and people get no capital on your side. So all the basic necessities that people get, you rid of under your side. Secondly, we think it stifles innovation to the highest level, because innovation is created from sentience, the ability for individuals to experience, by people to think, people to question, and people to answer those questions. What happens in your world is that there's an automated workforce, so people aren't able to innovate. People aren't able to experience the workplace experience, what the world necessarily needs, how technology necessarily needs to improve, and what technology needs to improve in. All this experience is not gained under the side of government. Our comparative is that we would have bred entrepreneurs, individuals that study the workplace within this area, and brought up new ideas because they were able to question, they were able to answer through surveys of interviewing the individuals within the workplace. This is innovation that's important for helping society, helping technology develop. Technology can never develop under your side because people aren't given the chance. Thank you.
Thank you for that speech. Now I invite the
Developing countries need automated workforce to actually develop their country and to progress their GDP growth, right? So firstly, I have one argument today, and all my rebuttals will be integrated except two. So firstly, we wanted to talk about how they will have better check and balances because they enforce labor laws. We think that's a really inefficient check and balance law. For example, H&M was trying and hurt after having sweatshops in Bangladesh, and after 3 months they continued to get sweatshops because that trial was ineffective. That form of check and balance isn't effective because MNCs can always try to cover up all these kinds of atrocities and exploitation they commit to these people. And secondly, we think that these laws also wouldn't work because governments in developing countries would prioritize the investment of MNCs rather than human rights which are being violated constantly. And the second rebuttal that they fit in was this whole idea of innovation, right? We want to argue that innovation is less likely to occur outside because of the rise of automated workforce. We reject that premise as a whole because innovation works better under our paradigm. When our paradigm, people are actively working to improve the automated workforce, right? People constantly want more productivity. Therefore, they're going to create better technology in order for better machines to be created, so that we think that innovation works better under our paradigm. That's the comparative. So first argument, right? How do you incentivize governments to actually make the lives of poor people better, right? Firstly, we tell you that the stakeholder in place today is poor people, right? Because these are the people who are most affected. These are the people who are going to be displaced, right? So the premise is this: when the unemployment rate of the country increases, the government is going to incentivize more training for low-skilled workers, more poor people to be higher skilled. a whole, especially in developing countries, where the low-skilled workforce is the largest workforce, we tell you that's the developing countries want the unemployment rate to go down, right? Especially in countries like Malaysia, where we're currently facing through economic crisis, that's when the incentives are more likely to increase, right? Because we want to develop our countries, we need GDP proportionality. We can't keep, we need to reduce income inequality that happens, right? Therefore, there's an active incentive for governments to actually try to elevate the social status or the kind of skills that these people have. So even if countries which are really corrupted, who want these low-skilled workers to remain in their social economic status because they want to manipulate them, we still tell you that the incentives still exist, because every country wants to actually have a developed country, right? Which means they need GDP proportionality. They need to reduce income inequality in order, and because of the fact that if you don't reduce the income inequality, you have to keep on spending money on welfare, which we think the countries in economic crisis right now cannot afford. Therefore, we think the automated workforce is a much better incentive, right? Before I move on, closing short.
So why would you need to retrain poor people if all your jobs are already taken up by machines?
The thing is this, right? That's how I'm going to explain how I solve this problem under our policy, right? So because now, I've already explained the incentive of the government, right? So to reduce unemployment rate, so it's more likely that they'll prioritize training for these people with more skills. Why is it that this training is much better, right? Because we know it's much more cost effective, it's much more productive. Because we tell you that because the fact that if you continuously employ those skilled workers who are unproductive and reduce profit margins is something that governments in developing countries don't want. They rather train these people. So when you have higher skilled workforce, you can develop industries which are already sort of developing but cannot reach that status yet, right? We tell you that countries like maybe the STEM industries in developing countries aren't really booming right now. We tell you that is when the government will actually start to train those skilled workforce in order to achieve it, right? Because governments don't want unemployment rates. So why is this good for poor people and the government itself? So let's talk about poor people. What's going to happen when the government starts to train these poor people, right? You improve their lives as a whole. Because why? Better jobs means more purchasing power. That's why we reject the premise that these people don't have purchasing powers. We think the incentive that exists on our side is extremely tangible. Therefore, the government is more likely to train these people. We think more purchasing power occurs on our side, which means more infrastructure, because more development happens. Right? The more development happens for people in rural areas with low skilled workforce who are now actually able to elevate their social status. And number two, what happens in the country, right? So you have a seat. You can improve industries that are already booming, right? Like how semiconductor industries aren't really booming in Malaysia right now. You get to do that. You get to generate higher skilled workforce, because every job which requires low skill can now be taken over by automated workforce. We think we achieve GDP proportionality much better. We think we get to develop areas with less infrastructure because of that, right? Because we tell you another benefit that exists is when you have a higher skilled workforce, we tell you that economic investors are much more likely to develop these areas, right? Because it's already developing, the growth rate of these areas will be much faster, right? So the conclusion is this argument should be simple. We think that the rise of automated workforce is able to incentivize governments to educate lower skilled workforce in order to reduce unemployment rate. Life of these people become much better for that, sure.
So even if you train the individuals on your side, how do you employ the sheer number of individuals that you displace due to the automated industry?
We think there's always a demand for moderate skilled workforce in Malaysia because of the fact that all of these industries don't really have enough workforce. We must recognize that the largest workforce is the low skilled workforce. So if they develop their skills, become moderate skilled workforce, that is then there will be an actual demand for moderate skilled workforce, right? So we tell you what's the comparative under our side, right? People who are low skilled workers will always be kept in their circles by MNCs, because profit-oriented organizations will always capitalize on the fact that they are human. They can capitalize on their own emotions. They can exploit them using their emotions. These people will never be able to escape the cycle that they're put into. At least under our side, we have actual incentive for governments to actually come in and actually train these people, right, to make them elevate their social economic backgrounds, because that's how the government itself gets to achieve its goals, right? That's when developing countries can achieve better growth rates, right? So we tell you another comparative is this, right? Productivity happens much better on our side. We tell you productivity in 2 levels, right? Number 1, in low-skilled workforce, we have automated workforce, so productivity in that sense is much better. Number 2, in modern-skilled workforce, now it will be much better under our paradigm because it's more likely that all of these low-skilled workforce will be much more productive under our paradigm. Thank you.
Thank you for that speech. Now I invite everyone to sing through round of the opening argument.
Mechanization is a clear example of economic progression that doesn't help all. In opposition, we'll accept that industrialization is slower, but with the increase in GDP, we're more likely to ensure higher employment rates, we're more likely to ensure higher purchasing power, because the only way for our economic progression to occur is for employment rates to increase. If we don't have to care about the poor, because we can replace them with machines, there is no incentive under side government to give them education, to give them skills, to provide them with basic skills to work in the factories that you replace them in. These guys are confused, and I want to clear this up for the benefit of everyone. PM gives us 5 reasons why the best low-skilled worker is still not as good as the machine. No matter how skilled he is, he still doesn't have proper education. He still doesn't have the ability to go into higher levels to become a moderately skilled worker. The most amount of training that you give him doesn't reduce the fact that a machine still has lower margins of error. So even if you train poorer people, it doesn't mean they're going to beat machines, guys. They're still going to be replaced. Then they tell us at DPF they want to create a higher, high-skilled workforce. So there must be incentive to create a high-skilled workforce. The incentive in status quo is reinvestment. We invest in the poor to get them to work in factories. That's why poor people invest, rich people invest in education. That's why states invest in education to increase its employment. But there is no incentive in government. What incentive do the rich have to make the poor educated if they can't benefit the rich back? Because we can already replace their labor with mechanized or mechanized and automated workforce. So there is no source or necessity to provide them with education to make them smarter. What is more realistic, and Sean tells you this leader of opposition, is we just pay them to be poor. We just give them welfare. We provide them big money for them to survive every month. And we think that's just horrible. I'm going to explain why further in my speech. 3 other responses. They tell us accessibility is more likely. These are certain parts in like Detroit and Zimbabwe apparently, where there are natural resources we can't utilize it as much. If you can't prove the trickle down to have the lowest common denominator, we will accept slower progression in places like Detroit. We will accept slower progression in poorer countries because we think at the very least, when we do harness our natural resources, there will be people working to harness those natural resources. It might take a longer time, but we can pay people, give them purchasing power, let them spend it on their families. Secondly, they tell us exploitation. This is where it's pretty funny, right? So they say exploitation occurs and we can never regulate it. I would agree that H&M has the money to delay and prolong court procedures. But what is a comparative opening government? We have, as far as possible, we'll try to regulate the exploitation that occurs. Maybe in some instances abuse will occur. But we do have more people that are working. We do have more people that are paid. We do have more people that are being given due credit and due profits for what they work. You do not have employment in your work, and there is no benefit as to that. Just telling us that status quo isn't perfect, isn't going to prove that your side is better. Capitalism isn't ideal, but it's all that we have. Have a seat. Lastly, they tell us training individuals is better because it's cost effective. It is not, because states won't invest into training people if people are going to be pushed out by robots. It is more cost effective to create a sustainable welfare plan, which Sean tells you, leader of opposition, is susceptible to political sway. If richer people deem the standard of living as low, if they deem the amount of money that poor people need every month to survive as a low amount, poor people have no bargaining power as to how much money they get in your welfare system because they don't even make up the workforce. They can't go on strike, they can't unionize, they can't do anything when they're not being given any money. In our world, poor people aren't being given the money that they deserve. If they think they need more money to survive, they can strike, they can unionize, they can come together and fight against the state to some extent. But there is no opt-out clause in your world. You just take state welfare and they have to make do with it. Sure.
How's the comparative matter? But exploitative MNCs will always pay us equal incomes, will always put in a shitty given context, and it will always clamp down on them when they are labor strikes.
Some MNCs pay people properly, some MNCs don't. When MNCs don't, we will try to fight them. If we can't win, it's unfortunate. You guys can't fight the rich in any way. That is the comparative because you don't work in the first place. Let's look at innovation. They try to brush off innovation. So the logic flow in opening government has hugely, because mechanization occurs, innovation occurs. It doesn't work. And Sean tells you why. Entrepreneurship and innovation comes from human experience. We need people to be curious. We need people to know that some things are inconvenient. We need people to know that self-driving cars are better for humanity. And robots can't do that because robots aren't sentient. Have you seen? If you create sentient robots, there is no purpose for them to protect the human race and they will just kill us all. Which is the reason why they won't create sentient robots. They will have the most cemented and productive version of current industries, but they won't have sunset industries because you don't have people breaking out to come up with new ideas, because they don't have work experience, they don't have the grounds for entrepreneurship, they can't create their own companies to benefit humanity because nobody will hire them and give them that loan to start that company. You need sentience to create innovation. If there is no sentience in opening government, all they have is productivity, cemented current productivity. It doesn't make innovation better. What am I going to talk about? I'm going to talk about why this demeans the value of human life and human experience. This is under the assumption, by the way, that opening government is able to prove that we give poor people as much money as they want. So I'm going to take them at their best. In the instance where the rich decide to give the poor a reasonable amount of welfare, why is it still harmful? And that's my extension. What is the quality of human life made of? The quality of human life is made up of the ability to be in control, the ability to be better, the ability to work more, to pay more, to ensure that your family gets a better condition, the ability to make choices, to change jobs, to go on a vacation, to have control over your life. The truth is, when we are all on our deathbeds, the only thing that gives meaning to breathing is the fact that we can choose what happens in our lives. All of this doesn't exist in opening government. If welfare is set for you, these people are in a limbo because their lives are meaningless. They can't change their lives. They can't be better. They can't work to earn more to send their children to school. They can't work more to take their children on their vacation. Because the ability to choose is the ability that gives us what it means to be human. In the world where you demean the poor to this central class where they have no ability to choose because they can't be productive to demand more income. They can't be productive to demand more profits. That is the instance where you don't give them control over their lives. The essential thing that benefits all of us is control. And in a world where an automated workforce rises, you reduce control from the lowest vulnerable people in society. And in that instance, it reduces the ability for them to live in general. They might have money in the best case of opening government, which they still haven't proven just yet. But having that money and not being able to have more is something that they have to prove is beneficial.
As a country like Malaysia that constantly needs economic growth in order to progress further, we believe that on-site closing government, we can provide the best way for economic growth to actually happen in our country today. So before I continue, I'll start with my rebuttals and I'll move on with my arguments. My first argument, what are the benefits that come from automating the workforce more? And secondly, how will this affect the country as a whole? Now let's differentiate ourselves from opening government first. On closing government side, we want to better analyze what are the main effects and causes that happens to Malaysia as a whole. So my first rebuttal is, all sides fail to characterize how work life in these factories actually look like, which I will do later on in my arguments. Side opposition fail to prove why in their world the poor benefit so much when all they tell you is why our world is way worse without telling why theirs is so much better. So the second, my next rebuttal is, the quality of education is actually a lot better on our side, which I'll further explain in my first argument. So So my first argument, what are the benefits that come from automating the workforce more? So why do we automate in the first place? Automation is more efficient and it brings more economical value as a whole because we don't actually have to pay laborers to work there.
Yeah.
This is why automation happens in the first place. When our workforce is more efficient, we can produce more goods that could be exported or we could manufacture medicines faster because and at a cheaper rate because now we don't have to pay laborers to physically work there. So the cost of making it is way less. This also fulfills our goal if we make more medicines at a cheaper rate for Malaysia because now we're going to have better healthcare system for the poor people as now our medicines are going to be a lot cheaper. And I'll deal with the fact that yes, they may not have as much jobs today, and I'll deal with that later. If we produce, for example, medicine, tablets, or pills at a faster rate, at a wider expense, without having to pay laborers to actually do it physically, then we'll have more of these medicines all together. And when there is more medicine in the market, the price will drop down a lot more. The price will also decrease because now these factories do not have to use money in order to pay the laborers and can actually use the money to do other things. For example, they can use it to build their company even more. And when they build their company even more, there's going to be even more space for more jobs because now they're going to, although it won't provide a lot of jobs, but when they are a bigger company, automation can't cover all aspects of jobs. Yes, automation can cover a lot, but there are certain jobs that only humans can do. For example, being a scientist, you can't have a machine to discover new things or anything after my first argument. So there will be a need for these high-skilled jobs and then there will be a bigger demand in the first place. This is especially important because now the poor people that live in poverty can now also have a better chance at being able to buy good quality medicine. For example, in rural areas, they don't have access to go hospitals. So when they develop a sickness or they need medicine, they cannot afford it and they cannot access it. But now this means now that companies can have even more money to build up their companies even more. When a company is bigger, the economic growth of the country is also higher as a direct benefit, and we also provide a bit more job opportunities. Yes, we agree that we do not provide as much as side opposition can have, but we still at least provide a bit of jobs inclusive of the higher economic growth. We are willing to trade off more jobs that are low quality like factory jobs in the short term to have higher economic growth as a result. Why is this trade-off worth it? Eventually, when the company grows faster because of automation, when they expand, this creates at least more jobs that cannot be optimized. So we still provide some opportunities to these people that will displace of their jobs. And when the economic value of Malaysia grows, then the country will have more money as a whole. And I'll explain what this money can do in my second argument. The comparative here is that side opposition prioritizes more jobs that give less economic value, because on our side, with automation, we can grow the country as a whole. And now let me characterize how work life in factories look like. When a poor person works in a factory, most people that work there are poor because it does not require a lot of qualification. Like you don't need as much education in order to work there. It's long working hours. They're not going to be paid very well because they're poor. And companies take advantage of the fact that they are poor and pay them and do not pay them what they deserve or what they've done. They do not give them proper equipment and do not give, for example, like medical support that they're supposed to when they're working. So companies are very money-minded, so they want to save money. So obviously they're going to exploit these poor people, they're going to pay them less, they're going to save in all these medical things for their workers in order to have a higher profit. The comparative here is that they leave these factory workers to suffer in these poor conditions, whilst on our side, we will incentivize these poor people to work harder and study better to get higher, more skilled jobs in the future, which I will analyze now in 5 minutes.
So there are many high-skilled employed scientists in your world, but why would the government have an incentive to invest in creating more of these minds if they know the chances of a scientist being born without education is slim and very expensive?
I explain that right now. But in their best case scenario, there are going to be more working people, but they're still going to be working in a bad condition, which you have so many of these poor people working for minimal wages for so little money, and they have to suffer your day like this. And now, why would the government actually incentivize these poor people to work harder? Because now with higher economic growth, the country has more money as a whole. We can use it to invest in education, more healthcare, more accessibility to more areas that they did not get before. And now when we have higher education, it's easier for these poor people to break out of the poverty chain because now they are better educated and it's easier for them to get a better qualified job. And because of their education, and yes, only a few of them might get it, but they're still going to be way better qualified, so the chances of getting a job is still a lot higher. But even those people, and with those people that are that educated and are that good, if they go overseas and they study, they get new ideas from the country and from those respective countries, and when they come back, they can apply those ideas that they've obtained overseas for the country as a whole. So all these poor people are going to have a way better education as a whole, and this will benefit Malaysia's economy altogether. With that,
Thank you for that speech, and I invite closing opportunity.
87 million individuals in 2015 in the US alone wants a job, but they are still unemployed. And we think that since the reality of mechanization, the number of unemployed individuals have only risen. And the point in which to support the rise of mechanization, you only leave more people unemployed and allow them to fall into the poverty cycle. The stance coming from side closing opposition is that we want to provide as many people as possible stable jobs that are not taken over mechanization. I have 4 articles informed questions for you today. Firstly, do we hamper the production of items? Secondly, can side government provide benefits for poor individuals? Third of all, are the work lives that these laborers horrible? And fourth of all, can we create a better healthcare system and can we innovate the work? But firstly, do we hamper the production? Sure, we understand and concede to some extent that we may hamper the production, but we think that they fail to fully analyze the outcomes of this debate. No, I'll take it after my rebuttals. But because the problem is that you may be able to produce more items, but it doesn't mean that more people have more money to purchase it. Because if you decrease the amount of people that can have buying power, it means that less people can purchase it, and it means that your company doesn't benefit because there are less people buying for it. And without that, extremely horrible for your economy, and without you don't achieve the objective of which a world with cheaper products and more people being able to afford stuff. I think that the whole case falls half a C. Secondly, can governments benefit from poor individuals? Can governments benefit poor individuals? We think that no, because again, they didn't see the outcomes there and the best interest of the companies. Right? Because we think that companies have no incentive to help these individuals at all, because the DPM already considered and the DPM said that they will do anything to cut costs, right? And it means that they will try as much as possible to use as many machines in as many possible ways as they think. And we think that your poor people won't ever get this training, right? And we think that even if your poor individuals want to get training, we think it's extremely unlikely, because we think that the training you're talking about is more becoming scientists and we think engineers, right? Because all those laborers workforce is already taken over by mechanization. But what happens then is that we think it's very unlikely for companies to do so, because it will mean a lot of money, time, and effort. And we think that companies do as much as possible try to cut costs on such things, and we think that they will achieve their goals there. And even if you tell that some companies train, because they're more likely to choose higher educated individuals because it's much cheaper to train them. Third of all, the work lives that these laborers face horrible. First, we have to understand that there are already labor laws in today's world. But sure, we have to concede to some extent that there are loopholes and that people do get exploited. But I think the comparative that is no job at all. I think that rather these individuals suffer, but if they can get a job and afford and have a better life in the future and more easily escape from these poverty cycles. So that's the side of the government, where they have more of the thing at all and they have no job at all. You create a better healthcare system and innovation.
We think that we have that is that we allow these individuals to have comparatively more money than they previously had with welfare. We think that welfare is extremely difficult because there are a lot of poor individuals, and we think they're more likely under our side to be able to escape the poverty cycle better because they have comparatively more money. After I learned this story today, on the stakeholders, firstly, how is the best interest of the people have a seat, and how is it the best interest of the country's economy? But firstly, how is in the best interest of people, right? We think that in order to build this argument, we need to establish the premise on the status quo because we think that ever since the rise of mechanization, the rate of the middle class has fallen, or companies' profits are going up, right? And we think that previously, the middle class individuals were always rising along with the economy and the profit of these countries, right? So why so? We think that what happens is because it costs similarly or it costs less to buy a machine than hire people, right? And we think that companies are more inclined to buy machines because it requires less cash and can work at all times. So we think that this is extremely horrible because when you have machines that can already take over humans, it will mean that all these individuals, all these laborers individuals will lose their job. I think that although, and we think that a lot of these companies contribute quite highly to the industry. For example, manufacturing and construction. I think that this means a lot of individuals lose their job that were crucial to the economy and crucial to them. And it will mean that on the net, your middle class individuals are closing.
Just because these poor people earn a bit more money, they're not going to earn $1 million extra. How are they going to break out of the poverty cycle? Please explain.
Okay, I'll explain to you later in my second argument why it's the best interest of poor individuals. So we think that the comparative then there becomes that where we have more people working and the rate of the middle class individuals rising and more people having access to jobs. I think it's so much better because these individuals will be able to have a steady flow of money being circulated and proper steady jobs. And the second level to this argument, poor individuals. I think that a lot of poor individuals have little to no qualification, right? Because it's reasonable to say that they're stuck in the poverty cycle. And we think that if they can't afford education, it means they have no experience and no job and no money. And we think the only way to beat this cycle is to work. But we think that's not easy because they have no experience. And we think that labor jobs are the only alternative. I think that these individuals benefit from this because they have retraining programs and they now have more money than they previously had. And the second argument of how it is the best interest of the country's economy. Without when the middle class rate rises, right, it will mean that the country economy is rising. And it will mean that individuals have more buying power compared to previously and reserves. And this will mean the flow of money within the country is not stagnant. And we think that circulation then becomes better. And we think that the middle class will rise. I think that's so much better for poor individuals and poor individuals will benefit from the welfare because there's more tax being taken, right? And we think that's easier for these individuals to get out of the poverty cycle. We think the comparative then becomes that nobody can afford your products, no matter how cheap they are, and so many individuals will be left without jobs, and there's no circulation of money, and we think that you cannot achieve economic growth then, because it means your economy gets stagnant eventually. I think that we benefit poor people because we get them rich, right? Because we think that companies now, if they didn't have work fall into mechanization, they will have proper incentive to ensure that they they're training in these individuals because they want to train these individuals to make use of them. I think that is one because at least these individuals have one more thing on their CV to ensure that they get a stable job in the future.
So in status quo nowadays, many workers are exploited by their employers because they pay them less money than they should be getting in horrible working conditions in factories. So I have one issue today, but before that I will be rebutting side opposition. So closing government said that people will lose jobs which are contributing to the economy. Yeah, sure, they'll lose jobs, but on our side,
machines and automated workforce will contribute even more to the economy because they are more efficient and more productive than what they have to offer. And I'll explain more in my issue. So they also say that people will have stable income in factories, but they're still poor. Side opposition hasn't really solved this problem yet. And they also said that they won't have purchasing power, but the government already gives financial support to poor people that earn less than 4,000 per month, and they still have purchasing power, which is what we said. So moving on to my issue, which side better benefits Malaysia as a whole. So machines are undeniably more efficient than humans. But machines don't get tired in the sense that they falter and get tired. They won't get fatigue. They can work as long as they are powered by electricity. And machines can accomplish more than many humans working together because there can be one machine doing many things at once, many duties at once. So these machines will mostly be placed in areas like factories where there are a lot of people now, where cars or medicine and goods that are manufactured, which are all important to the economy and Malaysia. So these people, more goods can be manufactured to supply the people of Malaysia, and because they are cheaper, more people can buy these things, more people can access these things, because now that they are mass produced because of more machines and easier production. So, but these machines can also be placed in schools to help teachers teach with extra assistance, hospitals where operations can be performed more precisely and accurately than a normal human hand, which is prone to mistakes. So machines in these various parts of the society and areas of innovation and healthcare can help the economy because more cars, more things are produced faster, and this creates this encourages people to buy more things because it's cheaper and it's produced at a faster rate and more mass produced. So these goods will be everywhere and they can be found easily in lots of shops all around Malaysia. So this is a direct benefit to the economy of Malaysia. So we might be taking jobs away from the previous workers and displace them, but as my previous speaker said, we can give jobs to these people who manufacture these machines because to make this automated workforce, it can't just appear. So we don't take as much jobs away from these people as side opposition takes them. So why is this beneficial, and why are we willing to trade this off for more jobs? Why are we willing to trade more jobs from people for automated workforce? So, yes.
So how do you benefit unemployed individuals that want jobs when in status quo, you take away more of their jobs?
We really said that we don't take as many jobs because there might be some people who lose their jobs, but not everyone loses their jobs, and at least they don't suffer anymore, whereas on your side, they still have to go through the horrible working conditions that they have to endure in factories. So why is this beneficial? Side closing government thinks that automated workforces are much more efficient in doing this job because they are more productive, they are faster, and they have been programmed to do it as long as it takes. So we think that the Malaysia can develop much faster because of these automated workforces doing more work for them than humans who have to rest and have to be paid. So the government has to still pay, doesn't have to pay these automated workforces, whereas with humans working, they have to set aside some money to pay these people. So we think it's more important for a developing country like Malaysia to progress quickly with machines doing work faster and thus completing objectives that are more important, building better roads, building buildings for people to live in, and it's much easier than if humans on the job. So by having more goods on the market, so poor people can buy these things because the price has dropped, and this benefits these poor people because the purchasing power of people will increase more on our side than on their side. So we think side closing government
has won this debate because we proved to you like which is more important to the development of Malaysia, and why we should have automated workers and machines in place of ordinary human beings. So our automated workforce in Malaysia will be like proved to be useful when these machines are utilized to progress with productivity in manufacturing things that will be useful to people when exported, such as extracting rubber quickly, which many countries need and they can't find it in their own country, or oil, which is an essential part of Malaysia's economy. And with that, I rest my case.
Thank you for that speech, and I would like to wrap up.
The capitalistic world we live in today is a world where governments don't care if people don't have jobs, if their industries are doing well, and also a world where if you don't take care of your middle class, your economy is doomed to fail. I have three issues for you in today's debate. The first, which side is in the best interest of the people? Secondly, which side is in the best interest for the countries, for their development and their economy? And thirdly, are the sufferings of these workers worth it? But before I move on, let's talk about the extension coming from the closing government. The whole extension is basically about the benefits of mechanization and how people have sufficient amount of money to last them the whole time. We feel the type of benefits mechanization can bring can be seen, like things like innovation and things like efficiency. But we feel that long-term benefit isn't very long-term. The thing that you say that how governments are going to provide education, or governments are going to actually care about the middle class people who are in the poverty cycle, is just a blatant lie at this point. They're not going to care about it. If their industries are doing well, you're going to learn about a lot of people, because governments won't be able to see the further harm of them not investing in middle class people, or not them investing in poor people. They're not going to invest in them because they see that their industries are doing well. And they see. So we feel that it's very unrealistic to say that governments are actually going to care about the middle class or poor people in general. Also, this whole thing about welfare, how do people have purchasing power? Welfare is basically almost something that keeps you alive at the end of the day. They don't give you enough money, they don't give you enough food stamps for you to survive for a month. Those are you telling us that they have enough purchasing power is you just being blinded by your privilege and all that things. Also, this thing about suffering. We feel that the suffering of these workers is something that has to be done. Because the only alternative that they give to these people is basically nothing. The only alternative they give is the poverty cycle and no type of experience whatsoever. Because all the individuals who have kept their job and all those other people who have much more experience compared to these other people. And therefore, even if you do give people who are within the poverty cycle, within the middle class, if you try to give them any type of job whatsoever, they won't be able to cope up with it, and therefore will just get fired because they're unexperienced in that certain type of field. Before I move on, opening.
What is the incentive of poor individuals who ever self-actualize, who ever demand for better wages, when they will always be liable to money-oriented? What is the incentive for poor individuals who ever seek better paying jobs, who ever demand for better wages, when they will always be liable to money and profit-oriented tendencies?
Because poor people have one more thing in their CV, therefore they're able to do something with their life. You don't give them any type of alternative whatsoever. The only alternative you give them is no type of job whatsoever. That's the alternative you give them, and that's your case. First question, which side is better? Which side is in the best interest of the people? Two levels, which side is in the best interest of poor people, and which side is in the best interest of the middle class? Having seen which side is in the best interest of poor people? The side of government gives poor people a world where it's even harder to escape the poverty cycle and do anything with their life after they are fired from their job. You make it even harder for them to gain jobs because there's no type of job for them to gain anymore. You make it even harder for them to get an education that's worthwhile because the education system right now isn't what is going to happen because now you need to have innovation, you have to take the current innovation and the current education we have right now isn't sustainable for these people and won't be able to get them jobs that are beneficial in their life. So even if you are in middle class and you have an education, you won't be able to get a job that you will be able to sustain and cope up with. You will be only destined to fail because that's the system that Thai government provides. Have a seat. Which side is better able at helping the middle class? This is our extension. We're talking about how the middle class is something that's important for an economy. If you do not have a middle class, you are destined. Your economy is destined to fail. If your working class / your middle class isn't going up at the same rate as your economy, you're more likely to have an economy that isn't very sustainable. Meaning that there isn't a very good flow of capital going around. There isn't any type of transaction. There are not a lot of micro transactions that are happening. There are a lot of things that are going on. You create an economy that isn't sustainable for a lot of people. Because now the middle class cannot contribute to anything, and poor individuals will be just disenfranchised from society, and disenfranchised from the education system, they'll be disenfranchised from getting a job because of your society and your policy that you have created. Have a seat. What happens now is that you make the middle class, the people you need to make a good economy, you disenfranchise them from actually contributing to their economy, which means that in the best interest of the middle class, you make it much more harder for these people to actually contribute, which makes it much more harder to escape the middle class, to escape the poverty cycle, because they're more likely to go down the rabbit hole and they have provided for you. Moving on into the second issue, have a seat. Which side is in the best interest of the country's economy and development? Two levels. Which side creates the best type of economy possible, and secondly, in which side is development the best? Firstly, which side creates the best economy possible? The only way an economy can grow in a proper manner, and a manner that is sustainable for all people, is if your working class is growing at the same rate as your economy. If that isn't happening, you have a dysfunctional economy. And what happens then is that you don't have a lot of disposable income going around everywhere. You have a lack of disposable income, meaning a lack of circulation of money going around, which makes it even harder for people to gain profit, which makes it even harder for companies to do even better, which means your economy is more likely to fail. Even the GDP and per capita and all that things are more likely to go down, and mean all those types of benefits that they were trying to talk about, how their economy will grow and how their economy is sustainable, isn't very true, and isn't very likely to happen. Have a seat. Which side is better able at creating development that is good? If you have a lack of circulation of money, the development you're trying to gain isn't development that is very good, because there's a lack of knowledge within the middle class and the poor people now. There's a lack of experience, there's a lack of money. Meaning there's not a lot of people who know how to invest in certain things. Not a lot of people who know how to do certain things because of the lack of experience, and there won't be a good circulation of money, which means it's much more harder for people to actually have development. And thirdly, are the suffering of these workers worth it? The side of government comes up here and tells you that we are people who make it much more, that makes people suffer the most. They decide it gives people no other alternative to a job, gives no other people alternative to an education because of the experiences other people have experienced. You give poor people a life that isn't worthwhile, because the only life they can live is a life with no alternative and a life within the poverty cycle.
Always seeing you guys.
Thank you.